Hey, and welcome to another episode of Biz Tech Twist with Bob Coppage, Crotchio Geek, CEO of Simplex-IT. And I am joined this week by my water bottle. My water bottle is actually very intelligent and quite insightful on a lot of things. Actually, seriously, this is going to be once in a while I just go on my own. And we talk again about business technology and just look for a different approach to it. So here we go. Today, we're going to talk about something that I enjoy talking about. It just reaches down to me, and that is nice. Being nice. Oh, and security. Nice and secure, which really doesn't work well together. And we don't talk about this enough. And the whole concept behind this is based on a premise that a lot of people, especially this day and age, may not agree with, but that is people actually want to be helpful. By and large, we are raised, whether you call it golden rule, whether you call it survival of the, whatever tribal, we want to be helpful. And that's great until we get taken advantage of because of it. And one of the things behind cybersecurity is the bad guys are trying to get us to help them do their business. So in other words, they're trying to get employees to actually do things that will cause damage to themselves or to other folks. And this really works by them taking advantage of our helpful nature. So we've probably all heard about the idea of someone asking an employee to go out and buy gift cards for Best Buy and to send the numbers off to somebody. Okay, that sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? Why would anybody do that? Well, because the bad guys impersonate someone that the employee knows, whether it's the boss, the coworker, and essentially says, hey, I need your help. And I need your help by you going out and doing something. So let's walk through one of these. So I want to get someone to buy Best Buy cards. And I know who that person is, and I know their role over at a company. It probably isn't going to be too hard for me to find out who they work for or someone who's important. So if I can find out, for example, who the finance clerk is, or who an accounts payable clerk is, or who is a receptionist or whatever at a particular company, and then I'll go use LinkedIn and I'll go search LinkedIn to find out who is a CEO, who is a manager, who's important at that place. And I can probably find out what their email addresses are by going to their website, and usually they'll have somebody's email address, Larry at, L Jones at. And by knowing that person's name, I can probably fake what their email address is. So then I'm going to go ahead and create an email that's going to be spoofed so it looks like it's coming from whoever the boss is, but it's going to be sent to whoever this person is that I'm going to try to take advantage of. And I'm going to send it at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning when people are just getting started from the weekend. And I'm going to put this together and say, hey, hope you had a great weekend. Things are really busy for me right now. I have you need to do me an important favor. I'm going to be surprising about 4 or 5 employees with gift cards from Best Buy or from wherever. But I didn't have a chance to go get them. Can you do me a favor? Go out, get them, and then take pictures of them and reply to this email with these pictures. Thanks. I appreciate it. Oh, and what we're also going to do is we're going to put a signature on the email so it looks like it's coming from my cell phone. Forgive my typos, sent from my Google phone or Android phone or whatever. Now, the person sees this email and they see that someone who they work with, is in a bind. They need help. I better help them. So they're going to do the helpful thing. Similarly, someone calls and says, or someone emails and says, hey, I didn't have this document ready, or I didn't have this transfer ready, or I just am switching my banking account. Can you send me this information? So they basically are crafting a message that looks like it's coming from someone that the employee knows, asking them for help. And what is that person's first instinct? They want to be helpful. And as you look through the history of cyber fraud, if you look through the history of all of the successful email compromises that are done, a majority of them are done by asking the employee to help. And by asking the employee to just do this one simple thing, and you will make someone else's life better, more productive, easier. And by that person going ahead and doing those things, they've actually ended up compromising the business and doing significant damage. And the challenge is, and here's the example that I often use, but the challenge is, how effectively has a company communicated to their employees that they're not supposed to be nice and it's okay and there's good reason for it? So here's the example that I use. We've all either lived in or are familiar with apartment complexes. They give you two keys, right? They give you a key to the outside, and then they give you a key to your apartment. Now, the only people who can get in the building, theoretically, are either people with keys to the outside or people who, buzz and they get buzzed in. But either way, someone, either they're being vouched for by the person who buzzes them in, or they're being vouched for by the fact that they have a key. So you walk up to your door, the outside door to the building. You unlock the door with your key because you got your key. You're fine. 10, 15 feet away from you is someone who is just burdened. They have a bunch of bags of groceries. They have whatever. They've got all that stuff. They don't have the freedom to get their key out. You got a choice. You either hold the door open or you close the door. What do you do? Well, we collectively as a species think you hold the door open because otherwise you're a jerk. But technically what you're doing is you're letting that person through the first line of defense in terms of they get through. Now they have access to everything in the building. Not your apartment yet, but they've got through the first line. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to be nice. I'm going to be a jerk. Well, then you're a jerk. And no one ever posts on social media, here's a picture of this person who closed the door and didn't let me in. I am so glad they were being cautious and secure. No, they post and say, hey, here's a picture of this person who is a jerk. Let's all make fun of them and identify them socially and then make their lives miserable. Companies often do the same thing from the standpoint of we do not communicate effectively what our expectations are in terms of the behavior of our employees. What should they do in these circumstances when they are asked to be cooperative, but they don't necessarily know that it's official? This is where not only from a training standpoint, because training, and we've talked about this on other episodes, training is very, very important, but it's also critical for your organization to culturally communicate. We want you to be careful. We want you as employees to protect each other and to make sure that you're not going to inadvertently let bad guys in. And even if you end up not helping a legitimate employee do something, that's okay. Err on the side of caution. Are you communicating to your employees that you're going to support them if they insist on additional proof or information, even if it's a legitimate request? Are you telling your employees, both in terms of setting expectations up for the employees who are making the request, or it could be customers? If a customer calls in and says, hey, I just want to do this, that, or the other thing, how do you make sure that's actually the customer that's calling? How do you make sure that it's appropriate? And the problem is that in some cases, you will come off as the bad guy or the bad company because you're insisting that people go through these things. You're insisting that people make sure that things are validated. Set the expectations ahead of time. Have the communication and make sure that everybody's aware. We're doing this, not to put the parent hat on. This is for your own good. You'll thank me later. Create that culture so it's expected. Reward that culture. Hey, you remember when I called you yesterday and asked you to do this thing for me and you wouldn't do it because you said I didn't sound like me or something like that? That was a good call. It was me, and sorry you couldn't help me, but I'm glad you didn't because that was the right choice to make. One of the things we tend to forget about is we tend to forget about culture as, in some ways, just as much of a security strategy as all of the endpoints and the firewalls and the monitoring and the SIEMs and the EDRs, MDRs, and XDRs that we have. But culture is also there. Culture in terms of rewarding our employees for doing the right thing, even if we're not 100% sure that the wrong thing is at risk. And it is a change for organizations. And we always hear the question of, well, my company's too small. We're not a viable target. You are, actually. These types of attacks, the ones with the Best Buy cards and all those kind of fun stuff, are among the least expensive for the bad guys to try. So they can literally buy thousands and tens of thousands of email addresses with this type of information and send them out so that these emails are going out truly not even pennies on the dollar. We're talking fractional pennies. And the amount they may get from you is only, a couple $100. But how much does Amazon get from you? How much does Netflix get from you? Not a lot of money, but they found a way to make that pay. And the same thing is true for you. The same thing is true for your smaller organizations. They don't have to make a lot of money because it doesn't cost them a lot of money. So when we talk about niceness, and we talk about convenience, and we talk about productivity, and we talk about all of these things that make our organizations profitable and more profitable, those are great, but sometimes they come with that expense. And that expense is expanded and additional risk. And we'll talk more about that risk, but I'm going to pause right now.
Are you fed up with reactive IT providers who take too long to respond, let problems fester, and nickel and dime you for every little thing? Say goodbye to those frustrations by choosing Simplex-IT, home of Amazon's best-selling author and BizTech Twist host Bob Coppedge. As Northeast Ohio's friendly neighborhood MSP, Simplex-IT has been providing top-notch managed and co-managed IT services since 2007, supporting hundreds of clients locally and across the United States. With a managed service provider like Simplex-IT, you'll benefit from proactive maintenance, 24/7 monitoring, and streamlined technology that will help you grow your business. Visit simplex-it.com for more information and to start experiencing stress-free IT today.
Okay, we're back. And we were talking about productivity. We were talking about really some of the soft aspects of security and how important it is to communicate effectively to your organization, your employees, and all that. And I fumble around with this, talking about this a little bit, because it is such a soft topic and it is such a soft skill. And it is so not IT. A lot of organizations look at security and go, well, that's what I pay my IT people for, or that's what they pay our managed service providers, such as Simplex-IT. And there's an abdication there. And the abdication is, well, additional layers of protection, additional layers of security, additional layers of this, that, or the other thing are going to protect. But that really doesn't work when your employees are naturally predisposed to bypass those things in the name of productivity, in the name of being nice, in the name of cooperation. You can have the most effective security put in place for a door, but if someone puts a cinder block to prop the door open, not that great. And that's what you've got to look out for. Okay, so how do you start implementing this? Well, first is management's got to get behind it. Management has to understand the fact that security is a corporate-wide issue, that security is a necessary evil. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, in the manufacturing world, it wasn't that long ago when safety wasn't recognized as a big issue. Where, out on the shop floor, you didn't have a whole bunch of signs telling you, be careful when you use the ladder, or don't jump in the acid vat, or whatever. And it wasn't until OSHA was formed, and OSHA was formed in the late 70s, that companies had to start embracing workplace security. And now It's an expected thing. The same thing has been true with a lot of the other, HIPAA, and a lot of the other additional security or banking structures or anything along those lines. But you, as the company owner or CEO or executive, have to decide that it's going to be important. Once you do that, the rest is easy. You start with understanding and accepting it's important, and it is going to consume some resources, and it's going to cause some changes. And you have to explain why that is. You then have to become educated, and you have to educate your employees. And you have to start taking a look at your policies and procedures. Do your policies and procedures, or operational procedures, however you want to define them, do your operation documents clearly state, especially for those involving financial transactions or transactions that would share information for or about or with customers, enough roadblocks for employees to verify that it's happening in an appropriate way? In other words, are we telling people that that's how they're supposed to be? And then pay attention a little bit to the news. Pay attention a little bit to what people are doing or what companies are being compromised and how. You don't have to become a geek expert. You don't have to become knowledgeable about firewalls or patching or, whatever. But especially pay attention to the social stuff and ask yourself the question, could that have happened to us? And then ask the people who are responsible for some of your security, are we protected against that? How? And then remind your employees. Go back for additional training. Go back for additional conversations. Can you still be nice? Don't ask me. No one's ever used that description about me. But the key thing is you can explain why you're doing this and why it's not to be mean. It is not to be counterproductive. It is to be protective, and it is to be respectful of the security. The more you have those kind of conversations, and you have those kind of conversations not when someone can't do something, but just in general, the more of those conversations you have, the more it's going to be accepted as that's the way business is done now. And the more acceptance you're going to get throughout your organization, and the more the employees will support each other through this. It's actually pretty straightforward. So you can kind of still try to be nice. And if you are nice, let me know what it's like, because I've heard rumors. So, anywho, that is pretty much it as far as that rant on being nice and secure. It is possible, sort of, to do both. And as always, love to hear your comments, your takes on it. And if you were really nice, I'm talking about niceness here, there's a thumb that is needing some attention. And you could probably give it some attention with your mouse if you wanted to. By the same token, the thumbs down, it's feeling, it just needs to be left alone for a while. It needs some alone time. So click on the thumbs up and also subscribe, because you never know when the thumbs down might feel better and reach out to you, or you'll at least find out about our additional videos and podcasts and the like. So until next time, Bob Coppedge, crotchety old geek, not nice guy. Catch you later.